Several months ago when I saw the trailer for Ex Machina, I thought to myself, man, this looks like an awesome film. It's got all the elements that I love. Science fiction, a deep exploration of important and profound philosophical and ethical questions around personhood and artificial intelligence and the philosophy of mind and all those sort of ethical things. Right? Wrong. I went to see the movie finally and it was a disappointment. This is a movie that just did not deliver as promised. It had everything in place and should have delivered, but it didn't. In fact, by the time I got to the end of this movie, it just sort of felt like a collection of ideas and concepts and sort of classic tropes that we've already seen in other movies before. Even on the level of being a metaphor, which obviously it is a metaphor, movies like this generally are, it's simply a replay, a different sort of take on the same sort of thing that we've seen before. I mean, probably Terminator's a more notable and more blockbuster version of this exact same sort of metaphor about man versus machine. The other thing about the film was that it was really obvious because of the way it's constructed. It's actually what should be big reveals and a big sort of ending is not really that big. I think probably 45 minutes, which is about halfway through the film, before the movie had even ended, I knew what was going to happen. I could also, there were certain other aspects of the film which should have been reveals but weren't the way they were handled. There was just, it was kind of obvious when it shouldn't have been obvious. It should have been like a sort of a little twist or a little bite in the plot, if you like. But instead it was like, oh, okay, well, I know what that is, or I know what's going on here. Unfortunately, just it wasn't constructed very well. Now, what makes this particularly frustrating is that all of the building blocks are in place for this to be a really good film. So you've got two really good actors who are taking the lead. You have effort and energy has sort of been spent into the sort of the robotics side of things. It's quite a cool look. I mean, it is, the concepts are not new, like I said, they're taken from other places. But at least they sort of invested themselves into that. The setup, they use their budget well and they set the film up pretty quickly and start laying all the necessary framework in place for what should be a suspense, paranoia, sort of locked in thriller with this creeping and increasingly sort of heavy atmosphere that grows and grows until the final breaking point in the film. But it just doesn't happen. All the building blocks put in place, the movie doesn't deliver. There's two ways this film could have gone. One is to actually make a really good suspense thriller with this sort of strong atmosphere to it and use the artificial intelligence stuff as a bit of a plot device, a backdrop if you like, to the actual film itself and to that side of things. The other way that they could have gone was to make the suspense and other things secondary and really focus on these ethical and philosophical questions. Unfortunately, this film does neither, and as a result, it just doesn't deliver. You get to the end of it and you're like, I've seen this before, this didn't really deliver. In fact, it's sort of very similar to the movie Transcendence starring Johnny Depp, for those who went to see that movie. Now that promised a lot, it didn't deliver. Same sort of subject matter, it didn't deliver. But I would argue that Ex Machina is actually not even as good as Transcendence, and Transcendence at least had a few things going for it. So all in all, a really disappointing experience. Would I recommend this to other people? Well, probably. If you're a fan of science fiction or you're into the whole artificial intelligence thing and you got a few spare hours one afternoon and you can get easy access to the movie, then give it a look. But I wouldn't recommend it as a must watch, and I'm not going to be watching it again myself or adding it to my collection. It was just a movie that sort of presented a whole lot of stuff that we've already seen before, and at the end of the day I think could have been so much better because everything is there and in place. The movie just didn't deliver, which is a real shame. So Ex Machina, it was a shame. I guess that's the best I could say about it. It could have been so much more. Thanks for watching. See you next time on Quick Cuts.